My opinion on why Hillary Clinton's book was written and how the Hillary Clinton we know today came into being is going to be a bit contrarian and controversial. You see, I don't think Hillary Clinton was even the main person driving the bus. So, to a certain extent, I'm letting her off the hook, but not entirely, because she could have said no. She could have looked at the whole situation with clear eyes, but she was swept up in the excitement, swept up in the possibility without looking at the reality. And she even alluded to this in her book. She knew all along that this type of job and campaigning were not her strong suit. She knew this all along. And she knew this when she got together with Bill. She knew this when she was attacked by the so-called vast right-wing conspiracy. She knew that throughout her Senate campaign. She knew that throughout being a Secretary of State, was that she was a policy wonk, at least in her mind, not a campaigner. She alluded to that several times. And yet, her sycophants, her hangers-on, people who want to get potential lobbying jobs because of their association with Clinton, these people lit the match which gave Hillary the burning desire to run. If we didn't have people who were invested in keeping the Clinton legacy going, Hillary Clinton would not have been a presidential candidate, because she knew, and she even says this throughout the book, that she is somebody who keeps her nose to the grindstone, doesn't like to make waves. She doesn't like to talk about herself. Well, that's not entirely true. But she doesn't like to get out in front of people. And she knows, because she was married to the president, and she still is married to the former president, she knows you have to do all of those things that are contrary to her natural inclination. She was not inclined to becoming a president until somebody suggested it. Somebody kept the fires burning, stoked it, and she got on the bandwagon and she started believing it herself. And it doesn't let her off the hook, because she should have been more self-aware to say, listen, I know you want me, but I'm really not the best person to go about this. Let's try to find if we can find other women who might be better suited to this than me. She could have said that, but they stoked her ego and she fell for it. So, yes, she is responsible for getting wrapped up in it and believing the lies. But she doesn't really have any real friends. I mean, that's the bottom line. Bottom line is she doesn't really have real good friends, and they're not good, and they told her lies. And the thing is this book kind of encapsulates that, because the book, other than her sycophants, the people who really love her or really identify with her struggle, quote unquote, other than those people, she pisses everybody else off. She pisses, of course, the Bernie Sanders supporters, who could have supported her during the general if she didn't malign them the entire way. And actually, most Bernie supporters did support her during the general election. They had to hold their nose, sure, but they voted for her. Most Bernie supporters did. Pissed off the Trump supporters, pissed off independents who didn't really pay any attention, and she's pissing off the Democratic Party because she is increasing divisions in them. And so this book is not helpful. It's not helpful to anyone. And you wonder, why was this written? Why was it written? Well, I'm going to let Hillary Clinton slightly off the hook here. She has a right to write a book, and she has a right to publish it. She has that perfect right. Doesn't mean that it's a good idea. And she has a right to write it, but if a family member or a true friend, a really good friend, had the chance to read this, they would have said, listen, Hillary, I know you're feeling very frustrated. I know you're feeling upset that you lost, and you're feeling resentful and anger, and you want to point fingers, and I know there's a lot of blame to go around. This is if I'm a friend of hers. Of course, I think it's primarily the blame is hers, but if I want to soften the blow, I'd say, listen, you write it out, but let's not take it to a publisher until a year has passed and you have reflected more on this issue and the dust has settled. Then let's take a look at it and see if you still feel the same way. And if you do, good, we'll publish it. If not, we'll revise it. Because it doesn't make you look good. It makes you look petty and self-serving. That's what I would have told her as a friend. If I had been a friend of Hillary's, that's what I would have said. Hillary did not have a village. She didn't have a village to help her. Nobody. Her daughter. Well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they did say, maybe she just didn't want to listen to them. But to me, it seems as though not enough people said no to her. And I think even if I had been her publisher, if I had any ethics, I would have said, listen, Hillary, I love you. I voted for you. I am with you. I am with you. This is if I supported her, which I don't. But if I did, I would say, listen, doesn't make you look good. You are going to look like a fool. You're going to divide all of your fans, and you're going to piss off the Democratic establishment because they're going to think you're dividing everybody, and everybody else is going to be pissed off at you. So just hold off. Just spend some more time reflecting, and we'll come back to it when you have more of an objective opinion on the whole election of 2016. That's what I would have said as a friend. But I think the publisher exploited her. They thought, this is going to piss people off, and that's going to sell a lot of books. And I am definitely certain that that's going to be the case, is that her books are going to primarily run on, well, her fans are going to eat it up, of course, but her fans are dwindling because even the Democratic establishment is pissed off at her. But, a lot of people like me are just going to want to read it just to get pissed off. And people are going to want to know. I mean, especially if you listen to the audiobook, which I did because I didn't read it in the pages, you really get the full flavor of her anger. You can hear it. And it's really, you might be put off by Hillary Clinton's voice. Her voice doesn't really piss me off. And she's actually pretty good at reading books on tape. Hey, Hillary, if you're listening right now, future career. She's not bad at narration, but the really interesting thing is the tones are so obvious and they really flesh out the book. But it doesn't make her look good. It makes her look petty. It makes her look like it's a fictional account written in the first person. And it's kind of funny in that sense, is that she really doesn't hold back. And she holds back in the sense that she's been trained over the years to speak like a politician and whatnot, but she really doesn't hold much back in terms of her anger, and you can hear it throughout. And so I suggest listening to it if you have the stomach for it. But it doesn't make her look good, and I think that she was exploited by her friends, by her hangers-on, the people who want connections and power and money and lobbying jobs. And I think the publishers did the same thing. So Hillary, you might want to get a different circle of trust around you. Just putting it out there. So I'm trying to help you out, gal. Anyways, thank you everyone for listening.